You don't work for someone. You don't report to an office. You don't check in with coworkers, because it's just you. And for a while, you felt free. But freedom without a system? That's just another word for stuck. You set goals. Then you don't reach them. You stay busy. Yet your pipeline doesn't grow. You meet people, only to never hear from them again. And the worst part? It's only getting worse. You want things to improve, and they can, but it starts with you. MPN is an online accountability group for financial advisors, mortgage brokers, real estate professionals, insurance agents, coaches, and consultants. People who know their profession, but need structure to stay consistent. Every day, 6 disciplines to complete. Every week, 4 steps to follow. Every month, fellow professionals see your commitment. And the outcome? You build yourself. You build your business. You build your network. MPN, where information meets implementation. Learn more at mypersonalnetwork.org.
Hi, I'm Bobby Aldridge with BAM Metrics. There are so many programs out there that measure your swing speed, sets, reps, your BMI, your body fat, but the one thing they're not measuring that's so essential is mobility. Mobility is the key. If you're measuring your mobility, your performance will get better and you will reduce your pain. I created BAM Metrics to make it easy for people to repeat the exercises so they could do it properly at home on their own. It's simple, it's easy to do, and from a senior to a pro athlete.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to another Mindful Monday. And I have a question for you. What if the very thing that tried to break you became the foundation for your greatest purpose? Today's guest is living proof that our past does not have to determine our future. Through some of life's toughest challenges, she discovered the power of finding her voice, reclaiming her freedom, and helping others to do the same. She has turned personal pain into purpose, creating safe spaces for healing, empowerment, and transformation. Her message is one of hope, courage, and belief that no matter where you've been, there is always a path forward. So please join me in welcoming author, truth coach, and advocate for healing and freedom, Nattolie Chilton, to Mindful Mondays. Nattolie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Laura. That's amazing to hear you say all those beautiful things about me.
Well, you've accomplished a lot.
Incredible.
You've accomplished a lot, and I think you've been on an incredible journey, one that a lot of them will resonate with. So, because to me, your story is one of incredible transformation. So, can you take us back to the moment when you realized your pain no longer had to define your future?
Sure. Sure. That took a long time. I it's such a big pain is such a big part of my story. I had phantom pains. You know, when you lose a limb and it just aches for amputees?
Yeah.
That was what it was like. I think I was missing my spirit and I was carrying the experiences that I'd lived. Um, so when I knew, well, there was a moment happened about 216. I was on a massage therapist's table, and for the first time in my life, that pain had left me. It was gone. And I had prayed for it, I had worked at it, and finally it just wasn't there. And I looked for it because it was like, where is this? And so, could you just repeat the question? When I
Well,
realized pain didn't have to define me.
yeah, and maybe we should start maybe a little bit backwards, or back up a little bit and explain to a little bit people about a little bit of your journey, because you've been through a painful journey, and maybe so that people will understand a little bit what the pain is that we're talking about.
Sure. Okay. So, I mean, I grew up in a family that focused on grief. My mother, she had grief on autoplay. You know how you play a song over and over again? That was her with her traumas. And so instead of hearing people in gratitude, I heard the most painful traumatic stories. And so that laid down a neurological and a somatic physical grid for that type of modeling, even though I was naturally an optimist.
Mhm.
So the, sexual abuse was how it started, and it wasn't just me. It was also multi-generational in my dad's family, in my brother, but it was all compartmentalized, so there wasn't the mirroring, the decompressing of the experience because it was never witnessed. So then you just carry that secret. So that's really the secret keeping was part of that compression of the experiences, the aloneness, because you're keeping it. Yeah, you're keeping it to yourself. So you are alone with it. Um, and then that just grew. It snowballed into acting out sexually because of the sexual abuse,
Right.
and because of the imprinting. My mother actually spoke that over me, spoke the the promiscuity. She was afraid I would be, so she actually like spoke it over me, thinking that that's what I was. And then it's taking those things on and getting lost in a false identity and domestic violence, and then just the going on here, but basically when you take on those projections and then you hurt and then you start disliking yourself, because as children we take it personally.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and then we attract others, then we attract it from the outside. So mirror, mirror on the wall, inside, outside, pain everywhere. And that's how it was for decades. Just destruct mode. And
Yeah.
I was lost in it. I
Well,
was
it's
just
kind of
lost.
understandable if you're, when your environment and your family and everything was like that. I know Jim Rohn will always say that, you're kind of the total of the five people that you spend the most time with. And if you're around, especially when you're younger and you're around that, yeah, you take that on and you take on that identity. Um, but yeah, I'm so glad that you were able to find your way through that. And I know that was not an easy trip by any means. But I think so. You did write the book Unsilenced. Is that kind of was that part of the healing process for you? Was writing the Unsilenced?
100%, Laura. Um, Writing it out, because that was the really the unwinding of my voice, getting it right, creating a grid of truth, because there were so many shadows and hills and valleys,
Hmm.
deception and truth and mix. And so meditation, being mindful for 10 years on my life, reflecting and sorting it out. And then and writing it out, and healing deeply, and going through the accountability, going through eventually the forgiveness,
Yeah.
and of myself also. So I think that's still happening a bit, is the self forgiveness, but I'm mostly there.
Hmm.
Um, so that was huge. And then the unsilencing is the basically going from being in writer's mode to then learning how to speak it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Two
And
different things. Definitely two different things.
two different worlds.
Yep.
Bri- Bridging them, and that's taken really the last 6 years to where I am now, to be able to be lucid and have the continuity of thought,
Right.
without the triggers.
Yeah. And I think that's important because, everybody would love to wave a magic wand, right? Make everything go away and be better. But the truth is, you went through years of stuff. It takes time, sometimes years, to unravel and undo all of that. So,
Yeah.
two questions come to mind. For one, you mentioned forgiveness. And I've had other people on here before, and everybody has a different idea of what forgiveness is. And, so maybe you can share with us what your definition of forgiveness is.
Okay. Forgiveness. Basically, signs that you have not forgiven, that you're still in it. And we are the ones, basically, when we're in forgiveness, we are the ones suffering in the toxicity. Because I think of it as a fountain. We are the fountain, and we drink the water first. So
Yeah.
when we're cycling in the bitter, and for me, I'm touching the unforgiveness first. So it's basically going back to the moments of trauma, thinking about it, which used to put me into a deep state of depression for decades, manic depression, that would not lift, but that
Right.
was really tied to my habits of visiting the trauma. So that took a long time to gain the mindfulness to finally realize, I think in about 2022, that I was doing this. And I was hurting myself. So that's the unforgiveness. We talk badly about the people. We when we think about them or we come across them, we want to avoid them. So it's like this dynamic that makes us want to hide, that it's like a fence. Unforgiveness is like this fence that keeps
Hmm.
us. And so when giving, forgiving for me, it was definitely a choice. Going back to the mindfulness, and there'd be like, it was like my body was so used to doing that action of remembering the bad things that it was like, it was really an addiction. So as somebody who's sober 15 years, it's like you go to the bar, you go to the bar. Well,
Hmm.
the bar was the unforgiveness. And for me, it's like choosing never to go there again. And I might, during the process of learning how to forgive and staying committed to it, I might go there for a moment, but then it's like I'd leave. And eventually I just really almost completely stopped going there to the bad memories. And what's happened is my memories have changed. I really don't have access to the pain. I don't have access. A lot of the moments have just faded. The worst moments that used to just freeze me,
Hmm.
upset me. It's just not there anymore, and I actually have peace with the people, especially my mom.
Oh, that's good.
So
Yeah, I
she was
asked.
the worst
Yeah, well,
or the
yeah,
best.
especially when you expect your mom to be the one that protects you and looks out for you and kind of stuff, and that you don't have that. Because, but I asked because there's a couple things that have happened, like when I was a kid, and I would hold grudges. I mean, I held a grudge against my dad's stepfather for like 22 years. Just yeah, and but what I didn't realize was how much it was actually hurting myself doing it, or saying things over and over thinking you're venting, but really all you're doing is reliving it over and over. And I never looked at it until I started meeting with people, and they said when you say you forgive something, it doesn't mean that you forgive them for what they did, but it's a different kind of forgiveness. You have to like forgive yourself, and for being that, you have to be able to clear it out and move on. Otherwise it just stays trapped in your body. And as you've explained, some of the side effects and stuff that you can wind up getting from that, the deep depression and everything else. So, but yeah, so I was
Yeah.
curious.
Well, good for you on it, and it's not like on what you've done and chosen to do. Um, it's just so important, and the freedom, it frees up so much energy. And I'm not saying that, I don't have offense against people, or kind of, you get hard-hearted and you don't want to really spend time with somebody because
Hmm.
they did something that pisses you off. Oh, the point about that you just said, I wanted to just touch on that. The point that you said, it does not take them off the hook for what they did. No, I'm not saying that at all. They're still totally accountable. And of course, it's best if they'd admit it.
Right.
But we don't need them to admit it to make the choice ourself, to for ourself. Let it go.
Right. Yeah. And I
Let
love
them
that.
go.
Yeah. And my other one is, 'cause especially I think you talk about it a lot in your book on silence, but what does finding your voice truly mean? And why do you think so many people struggle to speak their truth?
I'm gonna show you my baby because this took
You
10
go right
years to
ahead.
write. I'm gonna show my baby. There she is. There. That was me. Whoopsie. That was me. That's my paperback. The other
Yep.
one is my Audible is a picture of me in red. That was a photo shoot that I did in 2019, 2017. That was really key in my identity change. But you just said about finding my voice. Could you repeat that, Laura? I
Yeah,
lost my
and
train of
because
thought.
there's a lot of people that, struggle with that. So what I was wondering is what it means to you to really find what means to find your voice? What does it truly mean to you? And why do you think so many people struggle with it?
Well, to find your voice, when you've to find it is amazing to actually have the ability to say yes or no, to ask for what you want. That's still a tough one for me, asking for needs, but I think it's really important for us to be honest. It's important that we say it because people are not mind readers. I'm still figuring this out, but the voice is huge in claiming our, in owning who we are, in exerting our influence,
Yes.
in expressing our opinion, in sharing who we are and what we're up to. Because if we keep all that locked inside, and for me, because my mother was a narcissist who covered the airways 99.5% with her own voice and never asked anybody to share anything because she was too busy loudspeakering herself. And so there just was no invitation to use my voice in that context. I was a singer as a young girl, so I'm very thankful for music class that was really a big part of me having a place to use my voice, and I'd sing really loud to fill the space as a little child. And it was encouraged and it was welcomed,
Hmm.
and I'm so grateful for those teachers who
Yeah.
didn't ever shut me down. They actually gave me solos.
Hmm.
They loved me, and I think that music was life saving. And I think a reason why people don't use their voice is because it's a habit of shutting down. And repression is so connected to depression. So
Yeah.
every time we repress, we hold it back because we're scared. And I still deal with that, feeling that childlike fear, asking for something or, a business deal, asking, negotiating. Oh my goodness.
Well, I will tell you, you're not alone in that. I know a number of people that maybe not even got through it, but I think we're always, I know a lot of people that we're always happy to help, but when we need help, we have trouble asking. And it's for whatever reason, but it doesn't seem to come easy to many people. So I know you're not alone in that boat, but
Mhm.
yeah, I've always said music and dancing was my happy place. It just always kind of took me to a different world, and I'm so glad that you had teachers and people in your life that helped support that, because I think it was obvious an outlet that at least helped you find some sanity or keep some kind of balance for what you were going through. Yeah,
100%. Dancing too, like you. I was a
yeah,
huge dancer. So finding freedom in movement. is huge. And that's
Yeah.
also part of reclaiming because, yeah, in trauma, we can shut down those expressions. And
Hmm.
I need to reclaim my dancer again because I
Yeah.
was a huge dancer for decades. But the last 10 years, that's been shut down. So it's like, so that's like for people wanting to reclaim the territory of self, looking for those areas. What did you used to love and do and no longer do now? And how can
Oh,
we just
yeah.
add that back in, put the spice back in, and get it
Make the
going?
time. Yeah. When you make the time for that, I think, and you just start to try it a little bit, it's like, oh, why did I stop doing this? Because it's what we love. It's like we get in this whole busy, supposable, or responsible adult life or whatever, doing what we think we're supposed to be doing. And it's like we stop doing what we love. And yeah,
Right.
yeah, definitely. But, many people carry shame from past experiences. What was the turning point that allowed you to move from shame and self judgment to the healing and self acceptance?
I love this question. I love this question. I would have hated it in the past. See how we transform,
I know,
y'all.
but see how much you've grown.
Well, you know what? A huge moment happened for me in 2017. I did a photo shoot and it was God led. It was like, do this photo shoot. And I wore a latex jacket like the Matrix, and I wore thigh high, basically hooker boots. And and yeah, it was about shedding that identity that had been placed upon me. And so I did that photo shoot, and it ended up being on the cover of my Audible book now. And that picture, it was like there's a trafficking organization called Exodus Cry,
Mhm.
and they do documentaries, and they support the vulnerable and rehab the trafficked. So I wanted them to use that picture when I did it in 2017. In 2020, the opportunity came. They call a call for artwork for a trafficking hub campaign to shut down Pornhub. I entered that picture in the 11th hour on the last day, 5 hours before it closed, submission closed, and it was given international mention, and it ended up being in an LA art show.
Wow.
And that picture, yeah, it was absolutely huge as the recognition of, that I had been exploited in different scenarios, and I never really owned that,
Hmm.
that had happened to me, and it was like the unsilencing was the picture. Is like it's a screaming picture, and it's like that happened to me without having to say it.
Right.
And then it was the recognition of getting the international mention. And and the pain is called and the picture's called Pain Repurposed.
Well, yeah.
So it's this process of rebranding and changing my name. Also, I got rid of my birth name and I rebranded myself to what I wanted.
Well,
So it's reclamation, right?
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question.
Oh, no, no, you're doing well. I mean, that obviously, because if you hadn't accepted yourself and where you're at, yeah, you probably would have never put that picture in, or got to that, level. And it's kind of like how you were saying the picture space. It reminds me of from what I've seen, there's a lot of people that go through trauma that maybe can't speak it, but they can draw it out or they can do pictures to kind of like, I know it's mostly used in young kids or young children, but I know some other, sometimes adults, people that just don't want to express stuff, they will do it in paintings or writing. So it is another way of expressing and getting that out there. People just have to,
Right?
look a little deeper and not just say, "Oh, this is a cover," kind of a thing, because it obviously meant something very deeply to you, and other people that can resonate with it, I'm sure, would also resonate with that. But
Well
yeah,
said, Laura. Well said. Yeah. It's I'm really enjoying this conversation big time. And part of what I've had to unlearn in my unsilencing is to stop communicating in code. So using pictures, not saying things directly because that was a fear. And it was part of staying hidden and protecting myself.
Yeah. But
So
look at you now.
um, I'm seeing it,
Beautiful
baby.
young lady,
Thank
beautiful
you.
young lady. She's got everything going for her. So, but yeah, so I mean, you have overcome trauma and the parental alienation and addiction. What lessons from those experiences might help someone who feels trapped in their own circumstances today?
Lessons from parental alienation and addiction for people that feel trapped. Well, a huge part of it is isolating. So that's a very common thing to do because it's kind of going from both sides. It's both the abuser likes to isolate, the parental alienator, which is domestic violence. Their agenda is to isolate the recipient.
Hmm.
So it's very natural. And then the shame of being in that situation, you don't want to admit it that you think I got myself in here, you made your bed, lie in it, all those lies.
Yeah.
So I would say tell it starts with telling. So tell a friend, tell a stranger, tell a social worker, go to a domestic violence shelter, get on a prayer line, just start priming the pump of speaking the truth.
Yeah.
Even if, yeah, to start with, and then get into like a celebrate recovery or an addictions. So there's sex addiction, there's alcohol addiction. Usually people have a few flavors. So that's
Right.
how of addiction that we
Yeah.
hop from one to the next.
Yeah. Get rid of one and
Yeah.
jump into another one. I've met a few people that have done that. I've had a couple of, battles and stuff, um, but eventually you kind of found your own culture, your own community, right? Or your own tribe of people. Did that help?
Yeah, that was like a slow journey. So, I'm just going to return just a tiny bit, like
Mhm.
to a circle, to some kind of a circle, like a woman's circle at Celebrate Recovery, where you're hearing other people's stories because you think that you're unique and special in what you're dealing with, and you will find out that it's very common, often, and that there's just something special that happens. It really deflates the magnitude because we blow things up out of proportion when we're alone in it. And it's just like, oh, there are others. I am not alone. And that really helps. And then you said, Laura, you just said, oh, yes, finding a culture. So for me, it's been a slow journey of learning what safety is.
Yeah.
And I've had like a couple good friends, super safe, both domestic violence survivors, way back in the early 2000s. And they were two women who really, there was actually three, who really helped me begin to speak. I was pretty much nonverbal 25 years ago. Like I'd say a couple words, that was it.
Right.
and and they had patience to listen to me, and they pursued me with love and friendship, and they were super safe people, and so that built a little bit of a grid in me, and then learning how to be safe myself, and then seeing it, seeing the empathy, recognizing, because I was brought up without empathy. There really was was zero empathy
Well, yeah, I could
or,
imagine. Yeah.
or compassion. It was like, I remember, this is a trigger warning, but I remember stepping on a nail, having it like on a four 2x4 with a nail in it. My foot went like right to the board with that nail. Went. I had to like use my other foot to take my foot out off of the nail as like a 6-year-old child. I went a rusty nail. I went to my mother. We were at some party, and she
Mhm.
just said, "Just go away." She just go away. She didn't look at it,
Wow.
and I got the message, right? So it's really been, I've had to brainwash myself that I do matter. I look at the beautiful people like you here listening to me, having this symbiotic conversation back and forth. And it's just like, I take that personally that you would not be in my reality or life if I wasn't also. So, listener, look at your friends. If you don't think you have any value, look at the good people around you and just take that personally and say, they would not spend time with you if you were worth nothing, if you were such a crap person. So, I was there. I don't know if you are, but I think sometimes we got to remind ourselves, yeah, we're worthy. Yes. You know, everything we've been through serves a purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Everything.
I've never had that kind of abuse or anything in my background. Just
Good.
and not everybody does, but that doesn't it doesn't always take trauma like that to make you feel like you're not worthy, or or that who wants to hear you. It just kind of depends again on the environment, the things you're brought up around, or how you perceived it at the time, and whatever you kind of started telling yourself, and you hung on to that, right? Because that's what you knew.
That's right. That's right. It can just be, there are flavors,
Hmm.
lightness to darkness, and you know it's all valid. And somebody with a way lighter journey, it's still just as, everything is still as challenging to switch, to gain mindfulness, and to
Yeah.
transform. And we can transform. So it's just learning how to shift those gears, and we can do it.
Yeah. For me, I guess from some of the things that I would think some would help is that, if you're in that kind of a toxic environment, is to kind of try to change your environment. I know when you're a child and you can't, that's very difficult because you're kind of pretty much stuck there unless you run away from home, and then you have a whole nother set of traumas, but, different life. But yeah, when you do get to that age and you are able to change your environment, you know,
Hello.
yeah, hello.
Yes. Listen to Laura. That's right. And that was not in my grid
Hmm.
because I was the frog in the hot water. Like I left home in the almost boiling water, so I hopped right into another pot of hot water, and I couldn't feel the difference. So your suggestion, yes, and tell somebody what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, and that's another thing that you brought up too, like going from a hot pot water. It's like, because if you don't do that work and figure out who you are, we have a tendency to keep attracting the same type of people in our life, and we keep getting in from one to another. It's not an easy cycle to break. So, but yeah, so give yourself grace. If anyone's struggling, I would say give yourself grace, right? Because it's, you have to not beat yourself up, and be proud of the accomplishments and the progress that you are making, because it does take time. Yeah.
100%. 100%. Like, look at yourself. It's helpful, I think, to see ourselves as the little child we once were and to
Mhm.
reparent ourselves with compassion. So, even now, if I, relapse in some way, doesn't have to be alcohol, but if I, don't do just something that I'm not proud of, I can say, it's okay. It's all right. Just try
Right.
again.
Yep. Try
Just,
again,
just
and not to give up.
get back on track. Keep
Yeah.
going. And
Yeah.
that's life.
You have a
Thank you so
TEDx style talk that's called Return to Love. So I thought maybe we could bring this a little bit lighter, because I know we've been fairly heavy, but we are in a world that often feels divided, fearful. So what does it mean to you to return to love, and how can people begin that journey?
Return to love. Ah, okay. Well, we just mentioned it. We just mentioned it. And I'm sorry, like my tone tends to be heavy because I've dealt with so much
Oh, no.
heaviness.
No need to apologize.
Yep. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Laura.
Yeah.
So returning to love to me, it was about returning to me. It was about that talk was actually, it was the first time I verbalized parental alienation
Hmm.
publicly. I had lived with that for 20 years as a secret. I was ashamed that to be separated from my children, and I made it part of my talk in a very small way. But for me, that was part of clearing the shame was by speaking it out. This happened. Yes, I had my role, but there was the other side. Returning to love. You know, I'm crying a little bit here and there, but June 11th, 2011, my daughter and I had been alienated fully for almost 5 years. My son also, my eldest son. And she got back in touch with me after her graduation, and she just said, you know, why didn't you come? I wanted you there. And that's in my talk.
Wow.
And I thought that she wouldn't want me there, and I didn't feel, I just thought it would be better if I wasn't. But on that day, I got sober 15 years ago, right?
Right.
Her love, her phone call, that second, just, I shed so much pain and weight in that moment that I could finally quit. And I did it for her, and I did it for me. And then the returning to love, alienated parents, the connection with the child has been, it's been toxified through the targeting abusive parent who basically badmouths and poisons the child against the other. And so you gotta you gotta work through so much rejection from the child,
Mhm.
and to keep loving them and to keep trying, even though they sometimes cut you off for a year, won't talk to you, they
Right.
ghost you entirely, they give you nothing, they hardly give you a hug.
Right.
But it is that persevering, and it's like you feel like quitting because they're really, you're not getting it seem to be getting any rewards, but they too, it's like it's almost like an injured animal. You just got to keep nurturing it, and the relationship is the same. And returning to love, whether it's loving ourselves, having that inner connection that's been damaged towards
Mhm.
ourselves or towards others. So it's choosing to compassion, it's choosing nurturing, it's choosing to say, I'm thinking about you, I miss you, little bits of vulnerability, and that's all love. Sending a card, sending a gift, going for a visit,
Yeah.
spending the money, spending the time, and it's all worth it. It's worth it. It's, how many years, 15 years later, my daughter finally gave me a gift for the first time since she was like 5 years old.
Wow.
I've longed for a gift from her forever. And this year I got my wish, and the bond is finally, after 15 years of work, 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 it's finally, grafting where we don't both, where there's that weirdness because you
Right.
got to work. You got to, but it takes both sides. Yeah. It's so complex, but it's also
Yeah,
pretty
it always
simple.
is because you're human and there's all kinds of, factors and stuff in there. But and like you said,
Yeah.
it's on both sides, right? It's not just you. It shouldn't be you doing all the work. It has to be on both sides. It's not for you to do all the work for it. But
Right.
I'm so happy and excited for you. I'm glad that happened. But
Thank you
um
so much.
and
Life is
never
beautiful.
apologize. We don't judge here. It's a judgment free judgment free zone, and that's why I love this. People have the right to be the fact that you are able to be this vulnerable and share this with people. I think will tremendously help, because that's the whole thing, is right, to let people know that they're not alone. There's someone else out there that has gone through something similar, and it is
Yeah.
possible to get through it. You just have to find the right avenues, the right resources for you. So, yeah,
100%. And focus on the goodness and be grateful. That's a big one I'm returning to.
yeah,
Is focus on the light that
the
is
light.
here,
Yeah,
the
there's a
beauty
lot of
that
light
is
when you allow
here,
yourself to see it.
right?
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So you are a trauma informed body, mind, soul therapist. What are some signs that unresolved trauma may still be affecting someone's health, relationships, or their sense of purpose?
Um, wow. Feeling stuck, feeling frozen, feeling bored, um, overindulging in substances, including food.
Yeah. Some people do shopping
Um,
therapy, but yeah, there's all kinds of different addictions you can pick up. Just depends on, how people get through things. But yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, something, yes, I was the thought is blaming others.
Hmm.
That is a big signal, and I am projecting from my own personal. That's what I would camp on. I would say they are stopping me. They always
Right.
pointing out there, and it said when your finger's pointing out, there's three pointing back at you.
That's a good point. All pun intended, but yeah, true. Yeah. I love that. That's a good point, though. I mean, because if you are doing the pointing, yeah, you have three fingers aiming right back at yourself.
Right?
Yep.
And I was scared. Yeah, so fear could be another indicator. Fear and anxiety. Definitely fear and anxiety, because under that lives the living emotions that you're not dealing with.
Right.
The probably the content you're avoiding, whether it could be low character, maybe we're jealous, maybe jealousy was a big part of my story.
Yeah.
Because I felt so insecure, I was just, I didn't think much of myself, so I was jealous of almost anything.
I
I'm
can
not
re-
jealous any.
I
So,
can relate to some of that. Yep. Yeah, but it
right? So
happens, and a
those
lot of
are
times we don't even recognize the signs, and we just, we start to accept it as normal, and this is how it is. Or, as I've had some people say, "Well, that's the truth." Well, I was like, "No, that's the truth as you perceive it. It's not necessarily the truth." But yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yes. Um, yeah. Just being triggered.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, being triggered out of proportion to an incident. That's a good
okay,
a red flag. So somebody does some little thing and you are furious, like 0 to 95.
right,
And it's like, but then it takes mindfulness to real a reflection to realize that you were overreacting. Because if you're kind of unconscious of it, you can't even see that you're overreacting. You just think, they're making me mad.
right. Yeah. Did you ever find yourself
When,
asking, why is that making me so mad?
uh huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one of those, a big one. Have you? Have you? Was there a time when somebody said something that just triggered you, like some words or a gesture?
Oh yeah, I've learned to do that. There's some things I'm like, okay, so why is that really, a big issue? And I'm like, okay, so they're doing their own thing. Just because sometimes there's just little. It's just sometimes it's even just little things, but I'm just like, yeah, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal, and you just kind of and regroup. But yeah,
Yeah,
It comes
that
up.
takes a lot of that takes a lot of maturity, emotional intelligence, and habitually teaching yourself to let it go. Let it go. Because 20 years ago, you probably couldn't do that for
No,
viewers that may be
I
just
used to
getting
take
started.
on a lot of things, and I've always been a very emotional and a very sensitive person. And so if someone did something to my family, my friends, it's like it was on and I took it on like all the time. And it just started creating issues with me. But when I got with my fiance, fiance asked me, he says, okay, he says, so is it something that you can change or do something about? And I'm like, no. He goes, then let it go. Because it's true. If you can't do anything about it, let it go. It's a lot of negative energy that if you can't do nothing about it, then stop worrying about it. You don't have to be in that situation, or you don't have to, like, if it's news or whatever, you don't have to watch it. You have the choice. And if you're not making a choice, you're still making a choice not to choose. So you're always making choices and you have that choice to
Right?
do that. And so I really kind of took that to heart and embraced it. And so when things would come up, I'm thinking, okay, is that something I'm really in control of or can change? Nope. Because if it's not me and it has nothing to do with me or myself, I have no control over it. The only thing you have control over is you. You don't have control over other people. So you have to either let it go, step away, put yourself in a different environment, not put yourself in that one, but and that's kind of how I eventually got to my whole, judgment free. No one needs to be judged. People have the right to feel and believe how they want. I don't have to agree
Hmm.
or disagree. I don't have to be in that space, or I can be in that space. We all have those choices. But it took a lot of practice. It took a lot of practice, a lot of time. Not to say it doesn't pop up every now and then, but I'll normally catch myself a lot quicker and say, "Yeah, no, that's okay."
That's a lot of organization, neurological organization like that. You creating the pathways. Okay, if this
Yeah,
happens, I go that way. If this happens, I go this way. So, uh, listeners, it takes time to grow that neurological plasticity of choice, but you can. Laura has, I have, and boy, like it's incredible the places we can go, and the freedom through effort and sustained, consistent persevering towards what we want, what you truly want, which is to have some peace and some
yeah,
joy and
absolutely.
fun. More
Yeah.
fun, more fun for me.
So for people that, how do when people know that they've given away their power, they've given their power away, what would you say are their first steps to reclaiming it?
The first steps to reclaiming their power. Oh, good question, Laura.
I try.
First, first step. First step. Wow. What was my first step to reclaiming my power? Facing fear. Facing a fear. That was, I had an anxiety disorder. I had panic attacks like around the clock, literally all day long, every day. So I was phobic of people. I would cross the street. I was a shut in at times. And so I started to make myself cross the street, walk by people, and say hello. So face your fear. When I was scared of heights, I started to take very scary rides. I did karaoke, and my hand was like literally like this.
Wow. Well, you got one
Face
on
your
me because
fear,
I don't do
baby.
that. I don't care how how many drinks I'm not doing karaoke, but yeah. Oh, and that's
Right on.
good too, really, to face your fears and say, "Well, why am I so fearful of this?" And I've always found that instead of listening to everybody else telling you what you can't do or just saying I can't do that, it's like, how can I do that? Change the wording, right? Because I think you can do anything you put your mind to. Obviously, you have come a long way, and I think, like you said, mindfulness, that mindset plays a big part in that.
Yeah, the I love that state. Excellent. Well said. I heard what you said there, and I would just add that the way out is through. So not
Yeah.
over, not under. Like sometimes you can do that, but some things where you really, it's almost like a bully. Sometimes you really need to confront it.
Hmm.
So sometimes it's a person,
Right.
sometimes it's a fear. Yeah.
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 Natalie, we got about
So,
5 minutes left. So, what is one story you've been telling yourself that may be keeping you from healing? And what could you change if you chose a new story starting today?
probably my present story. My old story was one of being a loser. I always believed that I was a loser. And until one day, this guy, he was a very successful client, like a millionaire client, and he laughed at me. He literally, when I said that, I just kind of said it offhandedly. I was having kind of a low self-esteem day, and
Hmm.
he just laughed. And I was like, and like that is it was like that is the most ridiculous thing he'd ever heard. And I thought, well, coming from him, that kind of helped me shift that narrative. It definitely broke my pattern.
Hmm.
So today, the one narrative, probably the narrative that I really want to change today is that I can have actually a healthy male female like romantic relationship. That still is not very true for me. There's still some healing to be done in that realm.
Hmm.
And so I want to prove to myself that I can, like, with the right partner, I believe that I can be a fully functional, whatever that means, partner with a in a wonderful, loving relationship that goes both ways. It's free and compassionate, and where we both have a lot of faith, because faith is God is God is my thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where I hang my hat. So he'd have to hang his hat there too, and yeah, and that's so. I guess that's the answer to my question. How about you? What's the narrative that you'd like to shift? Is there something left for you that a shift in narrative?
Well, there's one thing I will say that's really helped me, and it was a previous guest, and maybe it'll help others as well. Is he taught me the game of 10. Because when people ask you or how you feel on a scale of 1 to 10, everybody's like, oh, it's like, no, you're a 10. So you sit there and you say, I am a 10. I am doing the best that I can with the awareness that I have. I am always right with the awareness that I have. I am enough. I do enough, and I have enough. And so I've always practiced telling myself that. And if there's something that comes up that's like, okay, can acknowledge it. And then I can like put it on, and you visualize a little altar in your mind. You put it in the altar and then boop, you just boop, get rid of it. Don't need it and throw it away. So I've done that with a lot of different things. So, and I find that helpful whenever things come up, just for me to just, you know, come back and block out any of the negatives. But
I
so,
really love that. Like for just this tiniest tip, because what I gave weren't really tips. What I would say really stabilizes me. Back in 2007, I heard the audible voice of God say, I am with you. And I think a lot of people feel alone. And whenever I feel unstable, weakened, I just remind myself, you know, He is with me. Like, I am with you, is what I was told. And it's just like, just remembering that and leaning against that if we need a bit of support. And that to me makes a huge difference.
yeah. Well, I want to thank you because we are out of time. But Natalie, for you to be so vulnerable and share your story with us and that show the beautiful soul that you are and stuff today. And you say you didn't share any tips, but I will guarantee you there was lots of tips in there that people picked up that can help them to start to get past that. So I want to definitely thank you for taking the time to be here with us, being vulnerable and sharing your message and your story. And anyone struggling, I would definitely encourage to get Nattalie's book, Unsilenced. It'll go into greater detail for you. Reach out to Nattolie. As you know, she can help you. So thank you so much, Nattolie,
Thank
for being with us today.
Thank you, amazing Laura, to have this great conversation. And thank your listeners. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Thank you, sweetheart. Everybody, have a wonderful Monday and enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.